Hello and welcome and namaste from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Gautam Roy and coming up in the next 30 minutes. The US federal government shuts down for the first time in almost 7 years after senators failed to agree on a last-stage funding bill. Only essential government services remain available. Other employees go on unpaid leave. Death toll in the 6.9 magnitude quake in the Philippines rises to 69. Prime Minister Narendra Modi expresses sorrow at the loss of lives and solidarity with the Southeast Asian nation in this difficult time. And India and the European Free Trade Association or EFTA pact comes into effect. The deal is built to unlock $100 billion in investments, 1 million jobs, apart from deeper trade ties. The US government shut down much of its operations as a deep partisan divisions prevented Congress and the White House from reaching a funding deal. The shutdown commenced hours after the Senate rejected a short-term spending measure that would have kept government operations afloat through till the 21st of November. There was no clear path out of the impasse, while agencies warned that the 15th government shutdown since 1981 would halt the release of a closely watched September employment report, slow air travel, suspend scientific research, withhold pay from US troops and lead to the furlough of 750,000 federal workers at a daily cost of $400 million US.
Now, with that being said, we can do things during the shutdown that are irreversible, that are bad for them and irreversible by them, like cutting vast numbers of people out, cutting things that they like, cutting programs that they like. And you all know Russell Vought. He's become very popular recently because he can trim the budget to a level that you couldn't do any other way. So they're taking a risk by having a shutdown because of the shutdown, we can do things medically and other ways, including benefits. We can cut large numbers of people out. We don't want to do that, but we don't want fraud, waste, and abuse.
Why do we care so much about them negotiating with us? It's not a point of pride. It's because Americans are hurting with higher costs throughout the country. Some of its tariffs, some of its energy costs, some of its food costs. But one of the main reasons, and the one with the most immediate impact on raising Americans' costs, is skyrocketing costs of health care, all done by the Republicans.
Now, hospitals on the Philippine island of Cebu have been overwhelmed after a magnitude 6.9 quake hit the region. At least 69 people have been killed, 150 injured after a powerful earthquake in the Philippines, marking one of the country's most devastating disasters this year. Some of the injured are being treated on beds on the driveway of the Cebu Provincial Hospital in Bogo. They had to be wheeled out of the building amid fears of further aftershocks. The Philippine Coast Guard on Wednesday said it was sending additional aid to help victims of the quake. The Coast Guard ship that departed Manila carried medical doctors, nurses and other personnel equipped for an emergency response and would be deployed in the affected areas. Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. assured survivors of swift assistance, with cabinet secretaries on the ground directing relief operations. The search and rescue operations have been underway amid power outages and damaged buildings as well. Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has expressed deep grief over the loss of lives and widespread damage caused by the earthquake in the Philippines. Taking to social media platform X, the Prime Minister wrote, "Deeply saddened to learn about the loss of lives and widespread damage caused by the earthquake in the Philippines. My thoughts and prayers are with the bereaved families. I wish the injured a speedy recovery." India stands in solidarity with the Philippines at this difficult time. European Union leaders have gathered in Denmark on Wednesday for the Copenhagen Competitiveness Summit. Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen is hosting EU Chief Ursula von der Leyen, French President Emmanuel Macron, Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk, and top executives from 28 of Europe's largest companies. The summit is focusing on strengthening Europe's common defense and scaling up production with the help of industry. It is also taking a look, in fact, providing the first opportunity for the leaders to debate a proposal to use Russian assets frozen in Europe to fund a loan of 150 billion euros for Ukraine.
And I'm waiting very much European Commission proposal for using Russian immobilized assets for aid to Ukraine. We have been asking for quite a long time to use those immobilized assets for Ukraine, but now Commission has a proposal and we really need to see what's in details.
This is Russia testing Europe, and Europe's answer must be to ramp up different capabilities, air defense, drones, and so on, by joint funding and joint procurement. Second one is that Russia's provocations and this kind of engagement won't weaken our support to Ukraine. Ukraine needs more in weaponry, assistance, and money, and also we should use Russian frozen assets as much as possible for that.
On the other hand, the Kremlin has warned European leaders that any theft of Russian assets will have serious consequences, saying it will pursue those responsible.
We have already responded to these processes repeatedly at various levels. We are talking about plans to illegally confiscate. In Russian, we call that simply theft. If someone wants to steal our property, our assets, misappropriate them, and profit from these assets, then of course, first of all, those involved will be prosecuted in one way or another. They will all be held accountable. Not only these individuals, but also the countries that make the relevant decisions. Of course, this cannot go unanswered.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said on Tuesday the situation at the Russian-occupied Zaporizhzhia nuclear power station has become critical, with Russian shelling preventing restoration of a power line needed to cool the reactors and prevent a meltdown. Zelensky, speaking in his nightly video address, said one of the diesel generators providing emergency power was no longer working 7 days after external power lines went down. Well, it's been 9 days now.
For
the 7th day and previously, this had not happened. There is an emergency situation at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. The situation is critical. Due to Russian shelling, the plant is disconnected from the power grid and is being supplied electricity by diesel generators. This is extraordinary. The generators and the plant were never designed to operate in this mode for so long, and we already have information that one of the generators has failed.
But the Kremlin has dismissed Ukraine's accusations of shelling at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant as foolish, insisting Moscow, which controls the facility, is ensuring its safety. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said Russian forces are safeguarding the site amid repeated attacks he blames on Ukraine, while Kyiv has accused Moscow of carrying out the shelling.
It is under our control, which is why the Russian side is ensuring safety of this plant. At the same time, everybody knows it is not a secret to anybody that the plant and its infrastructure come under constant fire from the Kyiv regime. As you can understand, it is, to say the least, silly to accuse Russia of bombing a station that it is controlling.
Well, today marks a new chapter in India's foreign and trade or economic policy. The much-awaited free trade agreement between India and the four-nation European bloc, EFTA, has come into force. The deal signed last year promises major investments, job creation and greater market access. DD India's Akhilesh Suman has the details.
The Trade and Economic Partnership Agreement, TIPA, with the European Free Trade Associations is a landmark in India's global outreach. Signed on March 10, 2024, it comes into effect after 16 years and 21 rounds of negotiations. At its core is US dollars 100 billion investment pledge over 15 years, projected to create over 1 million jobs in India. The pact opens new opportunities for Indian farmer, gems and jewelry, textiles, machinery, and IT services.
Trade and economic partnership agreement with the EFTA countries is a comprehensive agreement which covers not just trade in goods and services, but also intellectual property rights, competition, and also government procurement. EFTA countries are important trade and economic partners of India. They had invested about 12 billion in the Indian market, and Norway's pension fund also separately invested about 25 billion in the Indian market. Since these countries are also very much part of the European Economic Area, so overall, this is an important agreement for both for the European countries and also for India.
To safeguard domestic interests, India has kept dairy, farm products, and gold outside the purview of this agreement, but Indian exporters will gain new tariff advantages in EFTA markets.
Out of these 4 countries, Switzerland, Iceland, Liechtenstein, and Norway, Switzerland is the biggest trading partner to India among those 4, and I think it will definitely benefit Indians and the Swiss, because it will ease imports of certain goods. In general, I think this agreement is probably, especially if you look at the other free trade agreement with the European Union, it's of psychological importance because it's good that these 4 countries now managed to make a deal, because we all know that for a very long time India and the EU were not able to come to a conclusion.
The agreement is also historic. It includes a sustainability clause, binding both sides to uphold labor rights and environmental standards. Bilateral trade is now projected to rise to US $55 to 60 billion annually. With new tariff schedules in place, ports and airports are fast-tracking consignments, giving exporters an early edge under the new regime.
The implementation of free trade agreement between India and 4 European nations, Norway, Switzerland, Iceland and Liechtenstein, sets a template how cooperation can be established between countries who think alike, and set the ball rolling for other countries too. It can be a model for cooperation. Akhilesh Suman for DD India in Delhi.
India's Union Cabinet, chaired by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, has cleared key decisions to provide relief and boost self-reliance. The Cabinet approved an additional 3% hike in DNS allowance for central government employees and DNS relief for pensioners effective from the 1st of July this year. This revision will benefit nearly 11.8 million employees and pensioners.
हमारे सभी केंद्रीय कर्मचारियों को, पेंशनर्स को बधाई। आज से 1/7/2025 से डीए और डीएनएस रिलीफ 58% हो जाएगा, यानी 3% बढ़ा। बहुत ही बड़ी अच्छी बढ़ोतरी है ये, और करीब 49 लाख एम्प्लॉयज़ और 69 लाख पेंशनर्स को इसका सीधा लाभ मिलेगा।
And in another major step, the Cabinet approved the Mission for Self-Reliance in Pulses, a 6-year program with an outlay of 11,440 crore Indian rupees. The initiative aims to strengthen domestic production and achieve self-sufficiency in pulses by 2031.
आज 11,440 करोड़ रुपीस के आउटले के साथ आत्मनिर्भर बनना पल्सेस में ये एक नया मिशन चालू किया जा रहा है। 6 साल के इस मिशन में कई सारे नए इनिशिएटिव लिए जाएंगे, जिसके बारे में मैं आपको डिटेल में आगे बताता हूँ। सबसे पहले प्रोडक्टिविटी बढ़ाना, पल्सेस का बेटर सीड लेना, बेटर क्वालिटी के सीड, बेटर क्वालिटी के सीड में भी बेटर प्रोटीन की क्वांटिटी कैसे हो वो भी ध्यान देना। ऐसा करके जो ग्लोबल बेस्ट बेंचमार्क्स हैं उनके साथ कंपेयर करके प्रोडक्टिविटी बढ़ाना।
And Prime Minister Modi on Wednesday participated in the centenary celebrations of the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh or RSS in New Delhi on Wednesday. On the occasion, Prime Minister Modi released a specially designed commemorative postage stamp and a coin highlighting the RSS's contributions to the nation. The centenary celebrations are not only an honor, not only to honor the historical achievements of the RSS, but also highlight its enduring contributions to India's cultural journey and its message of national unity. Addressing a gathering on the occasion, Prime Minister Modi praised the unwavering faith of individuals rooted in social integration and constitutional values. The PM also said that the establishment of the RSS 100 years ago is not a coincidence, but a revival of a tradition that has endured for thousands of years.
100 वर्ष पूर्व राष्ट्रीय स्वयंसेवक संघ की स्थापना ये कोई संयोग नहीं था। ये हजारों वर्षों से चली आ रही उस परंपरा का पुनरुत्थान था, जिसमें राष्ट्र चेतना समय समय पर उस युग की चुनौतियों का सामना करने के लिए नए नए अवतारों में प्रकट होती है। इस युग में संघ उसी अनादि राष्ट्र चेतना का पुण्य अवतार है।
And still to come in this edition of DD India Live. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro receives honorary doctorate from a military academy. Commemorations held in Bali and Newcastle in Australia to honor victims of the 2005 Bali bombings. And Yannick Sinner clinches the 21st title of his career, wins China Open final beating American teenager Lerna Tain.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, commemorations are being held in Bali in Indonesia and Newcastle in Australia to honor the victims of the 2005 Bali suicide bombings. The 2005 attacks in Bali, known as the second Bali bombing to distinguish them from the 2002 attack, killed 20 people and injured more than 100. The attack on the 1st of October 2005 claimed the lives of 15 Indonesians, 4 Australians and 1 Japanese. The suicide bombings took place in the Jimbaran and Kuta areas of the island. The 2005 attack was the second major bombing in Bali, following the 2002 Bali bombings, which killed 202 people and injured hundreds. Both the attacks were carried out by Al-Qaeda-linked group Jemaah Islamiyah.
Indonesia and Australia also came together once again with a determination that terror would not win. I commend officials in both our nations who have worked tirelessly to ensure the events of 20 years ago have not been repeated.
Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has been awarded an honorary doctorate from a military academy as Caracas stares down the United States in a tense standoff in the Caribbean. In his speech, Maduro denied claims by U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio that the Venezuelan military is in cahoots with drug cartels.
U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, with his indecency and so-called morality, has said the Venezuelan military bases are the epicenter of drug trafficking. As the constitutional commander-in-chief of the Bolivarian National Armed Forces, I reject and repudiate Marco Rubio's statement.
The United Nations Security Council has voted to expand an international security force deployed in Haiti and to transform it into a so-called gang suppression force. The resolution passed by the Council on Tuesday provides a clear mandate for the force to work with local authorities to neutralize, isolate and deter gangs. It would raise the personnel ceiling from 2,500 in the current mission, first approved in 2023, to 5,550 personnel. Russia, China and Pakistan abstained from the vote on the measure put forward by the United States and Panama. The remaining 13 council members voted in favor. The new force will still rely on voluntary contributions of personnel and funding, but the leadership structure will be different. It will be led by a group of representatives from countries which have contributed personnel, plus the US and Canada. The force will also be supported by a new UN field office. The resolution also requests that the UN Secretary General establish a UN support office in Haiti to provide increased logistical support amid overlapping security, humanitarian and political crises. In Nigeria, President Bola Tinubu declared on Wednesday that the worst is over following a series of painful economic reforms which have left millions struggling with rising costs and deepening poverty. Addressing the nation on the 65th Independence Day, the Nigerian president defended his administration's decision to scrap fuel subsidies and unify the foreign exchange rate, moves which have triggered inflation and widespread public anger.
The seeds of those difficult but necessary decisions are bearing fruits. In resetting our country for sustainable growth, we ended the corrupt fuel subsidy and multiple foreign exchange rates that created massive incentive for a rentier economy, benefiting only a tiny minority.
India's central bank, Reserve Bank of India, has announced its monetary policy decision today, highlighting India's favorable growth inflation dynamics. The RBI has kept the repo rate unchanged at 5.5% and maintained a neutral monetary policy stance. This is the second consecutive time that the repo rate has been left unchanged.
After a detailed assessment of the evolving macroeconomic conditions and the outlook, the MPC voted unanimously to keep the policy repo rate unchanged at 5.5%. Consequently, the STF rate remains at 5.25%, while the MSF rate and the bank rate remain at 5.75%.
The Indian Navy Submarine Rescue Unit East aboard INS Nistar demonstrated exceptional precision and professionalism during the multinational XPR-25 exercise hosted by the Republic of Singapore Navy. The exercise, held from the 15th of September till the 25th, involved over 40 nations and featured both shore and sea phases to enhance global coordination in submarine rescue. Notably, the Indian DSVR Tiger X made its maiden dive outside the Indian Ocean, mating with South Korea's Navy submarine. The exercise culminated in the first ever 3-asset coordinated rescue drill in Pacific Reach history, highlighting India's proficiency and commitment to global submarine safety. Now, the Indian Coast Guard is set to conduct the 10th edition of the National Level Pollution Response Exercise between the 5th and 6th of October in Tamil Nadu. This exercise is designed to evaluate and enhance India's national preparedness to respond to marine oil spill incidents, testing the efficiency of interagency coordination.
29 countries will join the Indian Coast Guard for a major oil spill drill. The 27th North DCP sessions feature experts from important agencies participating in the exercise.
The Union Public Service Commission celebrated its 99th Foundation Day on Wednesday with the unveiling of its official logo along with a special centenary logo. The ceremony was attended by UPSC Chairperson Ajay Kumar along with former chairpersons and members of the Commission. The occasion also featured a cultural program to mark the milestone. Speaking on the Commission's illustrious journey, Chairperson Ajay Kumar highlighted the adoption of digitization and artificial intelligence in UPSC's functioning, underlining the institution's commitment to progress and modernization.
This day is not only an occasion to celebrate our long and distinguished journey, but also a moment to reaffirm our collective resolve to uphold the traditions of trust, integrity, fairness, and excellence which have guided this commission since its inception in 1926. When our forefathers made UPSC a constitutional authority, they gave us a responsibility. They made us the guardians of ensuring excellence in civil service.
Let's now get you some sporting updates. India's flamboyant opener, Abhishek Sharma, has set a new rating points record in the ICC Men's T20I batter rankings after his Player of the Series effort at the Asia Cup. The 25-year-old left-handed batsman reached 931 rating points, which is 12 more than the previous best rating point of 919 attained by England's David Malan in 2020. Abhishek reached the landmark after his knock of 61 against Sri Lanka and finished the tournament with 926 ratings, which is 82 more than second-place Phil Salt of England. While Tilak Verma has gained 28 rating points after an unbeaten knock of 49 against Sri Lanka and 69 against Pakistan, but remains in the third position. Yannick Sinner clinched the 21st title of his career by thrashing American teenager Lerner Tien 6-2, 6-2 in the China Open final on Wednesday. The Italian lifted the trophy for the second time on Beijing's hard courts, having done so in 2023. Sinner's only ever loss in Beijing has been to rival and top-ranked Carlos Alcaraz, who won last year's final. Sinner is the third man to win multiple China Open titles, matching Rafael Nadal's record of 2, but well short of Djokovic's 6 crowns. He may now be able to snatch back the top ranking before the season ends after Carlos Alcaraz pulled out of the Shanghai Masters, where Sinner is the defending champion. And that's all we have for this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS. Just scan the QR code on the screen and download it right away. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.